In this presentation, we will discuss Jacob Riis's contribution to New York City, his social reforms and how they impacted lower-class citizens at the time and continue to impact New York citizens today. We will also be discussing the Lower East Side and its cultural evolution.
Jacob Riis was born on May 3, 1849 in Ribe, Denmark. From a very early age, Jacob was introduced to authors such as Charles Dickens and James Fenimore Cooper, whose work shaped his understanding of unfairness and taught him English. As he grew older, opportunities in Denmark were scarce. The country was in economic decline, and finding steady jobs was challenging. He moved to New York City in June of 1870 in hopes of earning more money for himself and creating a better life. Here we have Jacob Riis and an image of Denmark in the 1850s, where Riis resided until he was 21 years old.
When he arrived in New York City, he still had trouble finding a steady job. Eventually, he became a police reporter for the New York Tribune. He covered crime and housing in the city's worst neighborhoods. This job unlocked a passion for Jacob, as he wanted to do more to show wealth disparities in various communities. He began flash photography to capture images inside dark, crowded tenements that people would not have seen otherwise. These are some newspaper clippings from when Riis worked at the Tribune. In the center, we have an image of Riis working on the paper, and on the right, we have clippings of his work surrounding the tenements.
In 1890, he published How the Other Half Lives, a book that contained photos, statistics, and narrative to expose the reality of urban poverty. His descriptions and photos of tenement life raised public awareness and gave reformers solid evidence to press for change. City officials could no longer ignore the slums once his work showed how overcrowding and lack of sanitation endangered not only the poor, but the whole city itself. In time, his efforts contributed to the 1901 Tenement House Act, which mandated windows, better ventilation, and safer construction standards. These are some of Jacob Riis' famous images of the crowded, dirty rooms that entire families had to share. In the center, we have a tenement yard, which had the laundry of multiple families hanging to dry at once, due to the overcrowding of the buildings. On the outsides, we have pictures of the actual tenements, where large families not only lived, but also worked. The top left image is of a cigar shop owner and his children working in their tenement.
Riis also advocated for the cleanup of Mulberry Bend, long considered one of the worst parts of the city, and also improved garbage collection and public health. His push for parks and playgrounds reflected his belief that children needed fresh air and safe spaces if they were to escape the cycle of poverty. These images are taken by Riis of Mulberry Road. As you can see, it is very crowded and dirty, and some people even lived on the streets.
In these tenement buildings, health hazards affected and took the lives of many. The housing conditions caused diseases and bacteria buildup, which resulted in death and sickness. Poor water quality, vermin, and a lack of bathrooms were all contributing factors for poor living conditions for citizens at the time. They were nicknamed infant slaughterhouses by the Tenement Housing Committee, as they stated 1 in 5 babies died. Here we have some of the infant inhabitants of the tenement houses. The center image being a widely popular one taken by Riis for his book.
Tenement houses often had hundreds more people living in the space than it could reasonably fit. Immigrants primarily lived in these tenement houses as they were the most affordable dwellings at the time. Landlords began to take advantage of the immigrants, constructing new buildings with poor living conditions for the newcomers to live in. Each building on average would be about 5 to 6 stories tall, 100 feet long, and 20 feet wide. On the right hand, you can see a large family in their small kitchen space, as well as a photo of a tenement bedroom. The whole family would sleep in this singular bedroom.
Each of these floors were made to hold 4 families, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Each dwelling contained 3 small rooms, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room, all connected to one another. They did not have individual bathrooms for each family, They used communal toilets that were typically outside in the back courtyard of the tenements. These buildings were very dark and had a restrictive airflow. Here we have a blueprint of a tenement house. As you can see, here are the 4 dwellings, all connected right in the center. There would typically be 10 people in each section of the tenement, and in some cases, there were found to be up to 18. While most tenements contained 40 to 50 people total, there were some containing 98 people or more. These were very unsanitary conditions, and a large number of people were forced to endure them.
This map shows New York City from a bird's eye point of view, illustrating how densely popular the Lower East Side was at the time. In this picture, you can see how all the buildings are closely packed together, leaving no space in between. When Jacob published How the Other Side Lives, the U.S. Census Bureau ranked New York as the most populated dense city in the United States, claiming it had 1.5 million inhabitants at the time.
New York City was built on immigration. It has been a driving force behind its growth, economy, and culture since the very beginning. This influence has been most evident in the Lower East Side. The Lower East Side is in the southeastern part of Manhattan Island and is historically known for its working-class neighborhoods. Beginning in the mid-19th century, millions of German and Irish immigrants began pouring into New York, concentrating in the Lower East Side of Manhattan Island. Many of these immigrants sought a better life, free of famines, war, and persecutions that had become all too common in Europe at the time.
Much of the Lower East Side's identity developed through Eastern European Jewish immigration during the 1880s. From 1880 to 1924, it is estimated that 2.5 million Ashkenazi Jews made their way to New York City, primarily residing in the Lower East Side. This added to the cultural diversity as they immigrated from various parts of Europe, and they began to integrate their own religions and languages with New York City. They created various synagogues, Yiddish newspapers, and theaters. This is a timeline of immigration to the Lower East Side, starting with German immigrants and concluding with Chinese and Latin American immigrants.
In the 1930s and 40s, over 1 million Italians resided in New York City, expanded into various restaurants and novelty stores today along Mulberry Street. The main struggle many immigrants faced was the language barrier. Most did not speak English when they arrived, which led to them living close to those who spoke their language. This is an example of how communities were built. The most notable communities are Little Italy, Chinatown, which are still relevant today. Pictured on the left is Little Italy, the hub of Italian heritage in New York City. You can find all sorts of Italian restaurants and bakeries in this area. Take a short walk from there and you'll find yourself in Chinatown, pictured on the right. This is where the Chinese built their community, and it still stands to this day. You can find everything from traditional Chinese food to Buddhist temples.
Come 1900, the Lower East Side had become one of, if not the, most densely populated places in the world. However, due to the passing of restricted American immigration laws in the early 1900s, the large waves of immigrants subsided. For most of the 20th century, many established residents left the Lower East Side, resulting in a period of economic depression. In the 1980s, a new wave of immigrants from Asia and Latin America began to populate the Lower East Side. Drawn by the cheap cost of living, they slowly began to make an impact on the neighborhood, introducing their own culture and customs. In the 1900s, the Lower East Side saw a major shift as young, upwardly mobile professionals, otherwise known as yuppies, New Yorkers, moved into the cheap former tenements, bringing gentrification that replaced old bodegas and ethnic spots with trendy shops and restaurants. By 2008, the area's rapid development led the National Trust for Historic Preservation to list it as one of the nation's most endangered places due to the loss of its immigrant heritage. This is Mulberry Street in the 1900s versus now. As you can see, it's completely modernized, and some of the tenement buildings over here have been replaced with standard apartment buildings like this. You can see the clear difference.
While the Lower East Side is currently undergoing significant gentrification, The ethnic character and history that it is best known for are still prevalent in many of its communities. People are attracted to the Lower East Side for its delicious food, music, and most of all, its people.
Thank
you.
And we're excited.
Keep it up.